HIJKLMNOP QRSTUV WXY and Z. Do you know your ABC of how to tell a story? Tell me more, tell me now. If you don't know, then let me tell you how. Hi, this is Rituparna Ghosh, and you're watching ABC of Storytelling, where every week I share tips, tricks, techniques, and secrets from my story bag, helping you tell better stories. This week we are on the letter Y, and I have quite a few Y's for you, so let's get started. The first Y that I have for you is your stories. What are you doing about your stories? Stories that you have gathered over a period of your life, stories that you have lived, stories that you've experienced firsthand, and stories that perhaps are somewhere tucked in your memory. Have you ever thought what will happen to those stories after you're dead and gone? Do you use those stories while raising a child? Do you use those stories in your classroom while telling stories to children? Do you use stories as a storyteller to connect with an audience? I have done all the three, and trust me, believe me when I say that it completely transforms the relationship between the storyteller and the listener. So, let me tell you about how I use storytelling as a parenting tool, particularly how I use my personal stories to talk to my son. So recently, my son is learning tennis, and we took a couple of months break, and he somehow lost his practice. Now he's gone back to playing tennis again, and now his coach is a bit strict, a bit stern. So he shouted at him, and he was a little mean to him in his exchange of words while trying to discipline a young kid who's come back to the tennis court. And my son did not like it, and he came back howling and crying, and very bitterly he told me that this is the worst coach that I've ever had, so I don't want to learn tennis. I'm going to give up playing tennis. I'm never going to play it ever. So I had to remind him, I had to tell him the story of how I let go of maths, how I chose not to study maths or love the subject because I was so afraid of the teacher that I stopped studying it. I stopped loving the subject. So I had to share that whole experience with him and tell him that don't make the same mistake that I did. Maths did not really scare me in any which way. So even tennis is not something which is scaring you. It is a person. So let's find a way. How can we deal with this person? Can we not make mistakes? Can we talk to this coach? Tell him nicely that, sir, can you speak to me? Can you speak to me a little differently? So sharing this little piece of story from my story bag with my son helped him also see the world from a new point of view. So he realized, and we had a lot of conversation around this, and it helped him handle this difficult coach. With children, I've worked with varied age groups as a storyteller from 18 months to 18 years. And I've realized that the personal stories that work with children are with other children who are in the middle school or in high school or senior school. And I've shared stories from everything, ranging from growing up issues to adolescence to sex education to careers. I have pulled out stories from my story bag and I have shared them liberally with these children. And believe me, it really works because children look at you differently. The moment you're there as a storyteller, they want to connect with you. And I've shared stories of my mistakes, of all the goof ups that I've made, of all the times when I have thought very differently. And today, as an adult, when I look back at those stories, I cringe and I say that how silly I was. I teach a bunch of 19-year-olds in college, and I teach them to become storytelling teachers. So I share a lot about what is expected of them as they grow up and what's going to happen to them as teachers or as women or as young girls, how their life will change. And I share a lot of my personal stories with them, and it gives them a bit of insight into what is life likely to be, or what are the struggles that they face right now. So when I tell them that I know what it is to be a 19-year-old, and I totally know that these are your experiences, this is what you share, they completely share their feedback, their lives, their stories too with me. So this kind of a sharing also helps us have conversations or have discussions which are beyond the curriculum, but I know it helps them grow mentally, emotionally. So definitely, if you're a storytelling teacher, please use your personal stories. Share the stories of defeats, share the stories of loss, because that's what children need to know, that it's all right to falter, it's all right to make mistakes, it's all right to be like this. And but if only we can really overcome this moment of crisis, life is better ahead. So do share these stories with your class and see how beautifully they respond to it. Now, for the storytellers out there, there are quite a few whys that I have. One of them is your style, your signature, and your purpose. Uh, it's a little different now. These are not really tips, but these are tips to really enable you to chart out a career in storytelling. When I started off, I didn't have a mentor. I found it extremely difficult to understand who am I as a storyteller, what am I here for, what kind of stories do I want to tell, and what kind of uh, experiences do I want to share with my audience and my listeners. All of this came to me after a lot of soul searching, a lot of mistakes, a lot of fumbling on the way, a lot of failures. You need to be very, very clear about where you're going as a storyteller. What is your unique style? What is your USP? I just as of today, I got an email from an eager viewer who asked me that how can I create my unique identity as a storyteller. And this is what I said: your unique identity is something that you already are born with, or something that is going to get polished as you go along your storytelling career. It's not for something for me to say that do this and you will be unique, really, because storytelling is a performance art. Storytelling is an art that you get better at doing every single day. So keep polishing your skills and you will realize what your unique style is. Watch other storytellers, but don't imitate them. Create your unique signature and you will see your career going ahead. At the same time, just ponder upon what is your purpose as a storyteller. This is a beautiful craft that heals the storyteller more than it heals the audience. So, therefore, it is our responsibility to give something back to this craft. So, ponder upon your purpose, your values, your vision for this beautiful craft that you're in, and where do you want to take this craft. So, as a storyteller, think about your purpose of being a storyteller, of what is it that you want to create, the values that you want, the value that you're going to bring to the field, and how you're going to help people grow with your storytelling. This is something which gets me very emotional every time I think about it. So I will not go on. If you have questions about your value, your purpose as a storyteller, please reach out to me. I'm happy to have this conversation, heart to heart conversation with any storyteller out there. And believe me, this is what makes this profession so, so, so beautiful. It is a very powerful profession, but it is a very humbling profession too. And I have deep sense of gratitude for the craft of oral storytelling, and therefore I totally believe that a storyteller is defined by his or her purpose. So I hope you find these tips useful. Ponder upon your story bag, see what stories you have, your personal stories, and how you use them while dealing with the varied audiences. And if you're a storyteller, do ponder upon your unique style, your unique signature, and your purpose as a storyteller. Until next week, tata, bye bye, and happy storytelling. Ta da 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 da, ba di da 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 da.